Hello all, myself Dr. Shanti Verma. In today's tutorial, I am going to discuss exception handling in Python programming language. Let's first discuss the learning objective of this session. At the end of this session, you are able to understand exceptions, handling try and except block, nested try block, handling multiple exceptions in a single except block, how to raise exception, finally block and user defined exceptions. Let's first discuss what is exception. Exception is an event which occurs during the execution of a program and that disturbs the normal flow of the program instruction. In general, when a Python script encounters a situation that it cannot cope with, it raises an exception. An exception is a Python object that represents an error. When a Python script raises an exception, it must either handle the exception immediately, otherwise it terminates and quits. There are basically various types of example, like when you want to try to open a file and the file does not exist, the file not found exception raises, while if you want to divide a number by 0, the zero division exceptions throw. Whenever these types of runtime error occur, Python creates an exception object. It should be noted that if these exceptions not handled properly, it prints a trace back to the error along with some details about why that error occurs. Let's check this. You can see in this example that if I declare a equals to 5 and b equals to 0, if I want to divide a by b, it raises an zero division error exception. This is a system defined exception. Now, how to handle exception? To handle exception and to call code when exception occurs, we generally use a try and except block. The try block contains code that might throw an exception. If the exception occurs, the code in the try block stops being executed and the code in the except block is executed. And if there is no error, the code in the except block doesn't execute. Now let's take our example to perform division and understand the exception handling. Let's first take two numbers from user. Now, if I want to divide number A by number B, I write this in the try codes. So, if A divide by B, then it prints the result, and if this try block not executed, it print the exception handled and then print end of the program. So, if the value of A is 5 and value of B is 0, so in this case the except block is executed and it prints exception handled. And if A and B both are integer numbers, then it divide the number A by B and print the result and print end of the program. Now let's discuss the next nested try block. In nested try block means try inside try block. In this example, you can see that there is a two try block. First, in the first try block, I take a two number from the user, and in the second try block, I divide the number by the second number, that is 10, and print the result. This is the except of this try block, and this except is except is for this try block. So, if the numbers are not integer numbers, then it prints a invalid input. But if the number are integers but the number both the numbers are not greater than 0, then it basically accept this try block and print divide by 0 error. And if number both the numbers are greater than 0, then it prints the result and print the end of the program. So we can also handle nested try block. This is a program to know the type of the exception. If you want to know the type of the exception, you have to first import the sys library. For importing the system library, you can write import sys. Then for knowing the type of the exception, you have to use sys.exe underscore info, and you have to pass the 0 parameter. In the 0 parameter, it gives the which type of exceptions you are handle. So you can with using the sys library, you know that what is the type of exception you are handling. Now a try statement can have a multiple different except block also. That is that to handle different exceptions. Let take a example where you have a multiple except block. In this example, you can see that I take in the try block, I take two numbers from user. All these numbers are in the basically in string format. I not typecast here. Now I typecast the number A. Now I want to add A plus B, and I have to print the result. If in this program there are three except block that handle value error, type error, and zero division error. If the value error is handled, it prints the invalid input error. In type error, it prints the type error, and in the zero division error, it prints division by zero error. So if a user entered both the integer number, sum of these two number is possible. In that case, it gives the result. But if the type of input is not valid, then it gives a invalid input error. So we can make or use a different except block in a one try block. Now multiple exceptions can also be put into a single except block using a parenthesis. In the previous example, you can see I write three except statement, but you can write a one except statement, and with the help of the parenthesis, you can handle various types of exceptions. In this example, you can see that uh, basically, in a one except block, there are two types of exception handled, value error and the type error both. So you can pass if you want to use different types of exceptions with the same exceptor. You can pass these exceptions within a parenthesis. In this example, you can see that I demonstrate the handling multiple exceptions types in a single block. Now, how to raise an exception? To raise an exception, raise keyword is used. In this example, you can see that here I use a raise keyword. In this example, I basically in try block, I first take a input integer number from the user. If this marks is greater than less than 0, or the marks is greater than 100, so it raises a value error, and in except it throws the value error that input out of range. So user should have to enter marks between 1 to 99, 1 to 99, and if not, then it raises a value error and print that input out of range. Now to how to raise an exception in except block. To raise an exception in the except block, in this example you can see that first I make one function. That function name is divide with the two parameter num and gen, and in the try block I write take a one variable with which divides these two numbers and return the divided value. And in the except block, zero division error throw, and it prints the divide function and divide by zero error and raise the exception. In the try block of this program, I take a two integer number from user. For result, I call the divide function and print the result. In the except block, I throw a value error that prints the main block, that is a invalid input if the inputs are not integers. And in the second except block, this is a zero division error, that is a divide by zero error. So you can basically raise exceptions in a except block also. Now what is finally? To ensure that some code runs no matter what errors occurs, you can use a finally statement. For example, if you are handling a file and you are opening a file, then closing of file is a compulsory. So you can use closing of file within the finally statement. Finally statement is generally placed at the bottom of the try and except block, and code within the finally statement always run after execution of the code in the try and possibly in the except blocks. Let's take one demo program to show the finally. In this program, you can see that in the try block, I take a two integer number from user and divide that a divide by b and print the result. In the first exception, except block, I take two exceptions, that is a value error and a type error. In the second, this is a zero division error. Now there is a one finally block, and finally block prints this code will run no matter what. Let's see the output. If user enter a first number 4 and second number 2, then the result is 2, and it prints the finally block that this code will run no matter what, and the end of program. Now if the first number is 4 and second number user enters a, then it gives invalid input error, as well as also execute the finally statement and print this finally will run no matter what, and end of program. Now, if user enters the first number 4 and the second number is 0, it raises as exception division by 0 and print divide by 0 error. But again print the finally statement, that is this code will run no matter what, and the end of program. So, if you want to execute a code that is compulsory to run in for a particular program, then you can make this statement within the finally block. Now what is user defined exception? Basically user defined exceptions means creating a exception by user. In this example you can see that there is user creates one class, that is a invalid range class, and make this is a as an exception, and pass keyword is used. Pass means if you don't want to write anything in the class, you can use a pass keyword. Now there is a one try block where user input a number and convert this number into an integer form, and check if the number is less than 0 or the marks is greater than 100, raise a invalid range. So this raise invalid range is a exception created by the user, and in the except block there is a value error and there is a input invalid range error exception. This invalid range exception is a user defined exception. So within this user defined exception, you can make write a code to that you want to execute when this user defined exception raises. On the basis of exception handling, I give you a two question as assignment. First question is to write a program to open a file where you do not have write permission. So show how to raise exception. Second is your program to convert temperature. For that you have to make a one function and pass temperature as a parameter. And if temperature passed by the user is not an integer, then you have to show how the exception handling is done. For more learning, you can refer these references. Thank you.